Your engine is shaking, your temperature gauge is climbing, and turning on the AC makes it worse. 3 of the most common car problems, and most drivers have no idea what's actually causing them. In the next few minutes, we'll break down exactly what's happening inside your car when each one strikes. Every cause explained. Every engine vibrates slightly, that's normal. But when the shaking gets noticeably worse, your engine is telling you something is wrong. A healthy engine fires all its cylinders in a perfectly timed sequence, each explosion balanced against the next. The result is smooth, controlled power. But if one cylinder misfires, that balance breaks instantly. One beat drops out and the whole engine shakes. The most common cause is a worn spark plug. If it can't produce a strong enough spark, the cylinder simply doesn't fire. A clogged fuel injector is just as bad. If the cylinder can't get enough fuel, combustion is weak or incomplete, and the misfire begins. A vacuum leak is sneakier. A cracked hose lets unmetered air into the intake, ruining the air-fuel mixture and causing an erratic misfire. But cylinders aren't always the cause. Worn engine mounts stop absorbing vibration, and suddenly every small movement transfers straight into the car body. When a misfire happens, the imbalance radiates outward. The more cylinders affected, the worse the shaking gets. A diagnostic scanner tells you exactly which cylinder is misfiring, saving hours of guesswork. Fix the cause: worn plug, dirty injector, vacuum leak, or failed mount, and the engine returns to its smooth, balanced rhythm. Now that we've covered vibration, let's look deeper into the engine, specifically the cooling system, and what happens when it starts to fail. Because when the temperature gauge starts climbing toward the red, every second counts. Your cooling system has one job: keep the engine at the right operating temperature. It does this with a continuous loop of coolant, a pump, a thermostat, and a radiator. The most common cause of overheating is a coolant leak. If the level drops too low, there's simply nothing left to carry heat away from the engine. A broken water pump is just as critical. Even with a full coolant reservoir, a seized or damaged impeller means the coolant stops flowing entirely. A clogged radiator can't release heat fast enough. Debris, scale, and corrosion build up over time, blocking the fins and suffocating the cooling system. And a stuck thermostat is the most deceptive cause. If it fails closed, hot coolant is trapped inside the engine with absolutely nowhere to go. Left unchecked, the engine reaches temperatures that warp cylinder heads, crack engine blocks, and destroy gaskets. The damage can be catastrophic and permanent. 4 causes: coolant leak, broken pump, clogged radiator, stuck thermostat. Any one of them can put your engine in serious danger. The moment you see the gauge rising, pull over immediately. Turn off the engine. Let it cool completely before you investigate. A well-maintained cooling system runs quietly and invisibly. Regular coolant checks and radiator flushes are the cheapest insurance you can buy. Now for the third problem, and the most confusing one. You turn on the AC to cool yourself down, and the temperature gauge starts to rise. How does cooling your cabin heat your engine? Your AC compressor is driven by the engine via a belt. Every time the AC runs, it places an additional mechanical load on the engine, stealing power and generating extra heat. The AC condenser, a second heat exchanger, sits directly in front of your main radiator. In slow traffic, it partially blocks airflow to the radiator behind it. In a traffic jam on a hot day with the AC running, the radiator receives less airflow than it needs. Heat builds faster than the cooling system can remove it. A weak or failing cooling fan makes everything worse. At low speeds, the fan has to compensate for the lack of ram air. If it's struggling, it simply can't keep up. At highway speed, ram air does most of the cooling work. The problem almost always strikes in traffic, where airflow is low and AC demand is high. Three factors hitting at once: compressor load, blocked airflow, and a weak fan. Any one of them is manageable. All three together overwhelm the cooling system. The fix is usually simpler than it sounds. A new cooling fan, a clean condenser, and fresh coolant can restore the system completely. When everything works together, the fan pulling air, the condenser and radiator releasing heat, the coolant flowing, the AC runs cold and the engine stays cool. 3 quick checks before summer. Inspect the cooling fan, clean the condenser fins, and top up the coolant. That's all it takes to prevent the most common AC overheating problem. So, there it is. A misfire shakes the engine. Fix the spark plug, injector, or vacuum leak. Overheating kills the engine. Fix the leak, pump, radiator, or thermostat. And AC overheating overwhelms the cooling system. Fix the fan, clean the condenser, check the coolant. 3 problems, 3 causes. And now you know exactly what your car is telling you when they happen. Subscribe to Engine Core. Understand the machine you drive and catch problems before they catch you. More car problems explained, right here.